Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Godfoe. Josh, right? Is your
Yes,
name?
sir.
How you doing today?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. It's been really cold in South Carolina. We've gotten some snow for a change, so it's been a chilly few days. And
Do you normally not get snow in the winter?
no, very, very rarely, very, very rarely. So we got the snow days, and the kids were all excited to be outside playing in it for a little while. It was a
How many
nice
inches
change.
of snow did you get?
Like an inch. It wasn't much. It was enough to play with, and that was about it. It's already mostly melted.
I remember when I lived in Albuquerque, there would be like a light dusting, and people would just close the schools, freak out. People couldn't drive.
Yeah, well, I mean that's pretty much kind of how it is here. We're not prepared for the roads aren't ready for all the ice, and like it's just kind of shuts down for a day or two, and that's fine.
Yeah, we got a little bit of snow, a couple of inches, enough that everything just turned to a sheet of ice. So not a lot of snow, but a lot of ice, and it is unbearably cold here. Like Tuesday, it was like 5 degrees. Wednesday it was like I think even worse, like 3 degrees.
Goodness gracious!
And today I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's only 21.
Well, see, and we've been like 17, 18. We've had some mornings like that, and for us, that's like insane cold for us. But I mean, we're not used to cold, so it's cool. But global warming.
It's funny.
Polar vortex, but global warming.
I was, polar vortex. I've always been into astronomy. Like I was into everything dirty. Dungeons and Dragons, comic books. Astronomy. I memorized all the planets, and like anytime there was pictures, I would like go to the library and get pictures of planets and stuff. I remember the 90s. They kept talking about they said in the year 2012 the solar output is changing. That the sun is always changing its energy output. That it's not consistent. It's changing, and they said around 2012 we're going to see a lot of solar flares, a lot of solar prominences, and then the solar output is going to change. And they said we got to start preparing for a grand solar minimum. And for like 2 years, that was the key term: grand solar minimum, grand solar minimum. And now you never hear of it anymore. And then a couple of years later, it was global warming. Well, at first it was global warming, then it was global cooling, and then climate change, because you could just say whatever you want.
It's a wide blanket.
Right. But I always ask this because I have a couple of guys at work that are like, we got to save the environment. And I'm like, well, the polar ice caps on Mars are melting. The global temperature on Jupiter and Pluto has been increasing. I said, so how do you suppose we fix all that? I said, or can we assume that the sun output is changing?
Yeah.
Well, you don't think humans have anything to do? I said,
not as much as you think they do.
I said, well, I said, do humans affect Pluto? Do humans affect Jupiter? No. Okay, it's all changing. So can we assume that something is happening with the sun, but we can't tax that? We can't monetize that. So
exactly. It's not political.
And also, I don't know if you heard about this, but supposedly the magnetic field is rotating. It happens every once in a while. Like
I've heard people talk about it. I don't know exactly how. I've heard about like this reversal type thing that they talk about.
They say it's like every 12,000 years or something like that. And
yeah,
I'll take their word for it. But the geologists say they could see the crystals and like stones reverse. And they say it starts out slow and then all of a sudden it flips.
Yep, I've read that too. I hope it doesn't happen.
Well, the polar north is in Canada now. It's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's slowly, and they say that's a time of mass extinctions, storms, volcanic eruptions. So
who knows?
Red solar minimum and this. It's like it's out of our hands, guys. Like.
Yep. It is. Buy comics while you can.
Yeah, buy comics while you can. I'll change the subject in a second, but like there's like logic. This either global warming is man-made. Okay, so let's think about that. So climate change is man-made. Now think about it. We have two countries, China and India, with billion people apiece, and only 1% of them have cell phones. Okay, they are going through. They're having a middle class for the first time. Usually, it's super rich, and everybody else is poor. But now you get a million people who want to buy cell phones, who want to buy cars, that want to buy television sets. That's going to happen in the next 100 years or so. So to build a cell phone creates as much CO2 gas as a rocket launch. And we're going to make billions of these things. You know what I mean? It's so do we tell them no? You can't. So if global warming or climate change or whatever you want to call it is man-made, then we have to prepare for it because it's going to happen. That's the way I look at it. If it's not man-made and it's natural, then we have to prepare for it. It's going to happen. So there's my two logical way that it's going to happen either way. Prepare for it. Figure out what's going to happen and prepare. Because we're not going to tell the rest of the world, oh, America, we have the standard that you can't have because of global warming,
Right. Well, and the crazy thing was when you look back at the pandemic and we had everything went into lockdown within a month, the grass was greener, the skies were clear and blue. Like the earth was like healing itself so fast during the time when we were stuck at home. Like the earth can really, it's resilient. Like it really is. If you give it a little bit of time to breathe, earth comes back.
People who say we're going to save the earth. It's like, no, we're not. No, we're not going to save the earth. The earth it's innumerable tons of stone and metal and everything like that. And the core of the earth is a radioactive steel molten ball that will kill you if you get within miles of it. It's fine. In space, we have global thermal nuclear bombs going off continually called stars. Like I throwing a plastic cup out the window doesn't change. What we need to do, like Earth Day, it should be Human Day because that's what we're concerned about.
For real.
The Earth will be fine. There's a radioactive ball the size of Jupiter inside the Earth. It's more toxic than your straws could ever be. It's all hubris that we think we're going to save the Earth. We're going to change it. No, 10 minutes after we're all gone, and 10 minutes after people like this guy shows up, Earth will be fine. Earth will be fine. So I just find Earth Day so arrogant. We're gonna save the Earth. It's like, dude, a rock from space is gonna destroy us, or a volcanic eruption is gonna create the year without a winter. You know what I mean? It's like. We think we have the power to change, or you think the government controls the weather? Okay, just pay more taxes, we'll fix the sky.
But
anyway,
that new Captain Planet comic just came out.
What's that?
He said the new Captain Planet comic just came out.
Captain Planet. It's collect all the jewels. What's up? So anyway, let's check out a couple of things. So first off, this is a comic book channel, despite my rant. And I have a comic book on Fun My Comics, Heroic Tales #1. It's getting good word of mouth. I'm still, drips and drab sales. Next month, most likely next month, I'm going to launch my campaign for issue #2. It's going along too fast to the point where I'm not prepared now. Usually I have everything done in advance on my end. And I just got word from Renzo. I'll be done in a couple of weeks. What do you mean done? Done. I'll be done.
Hey, it's better than being behind, man. At least you can fulfill.
Yeah. But
I'll take being done early over being late any day.
I woke up in the middle of the night last night. Renzo's going to be done. Renzo, so I got a lot of stuff to do. And then you guys got a comic on Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Fund My Comics. So it's on 3 different platforms for you.
Oh, good. There's a Kickstarter. So it's all live right now?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We've got
how you doing on the different platforms?
7 days left. 6 days left.
We got a week left. We are fulfilled on Kickstarter. We are 140 short on Indiegogo, and we only have $150 on Fund My Comic. So Indiegogo and Fund My Comic, we need the most help on.
So you're doing best on Kickstarter?
Yep. And that's our first time using Kickstarter, so we've been happy with it. Indiegogo, we've been happy with every time we've used it. So I mean, we're just we wanted to give it as wide a net as possible this time. We got volume 2 of Apollyon. We also have it as a catch-up tier, so you can get volume 1 of Apollyon, which is 187, 88 pages, something like that, black and white, fully rendered story.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that, and Apollyon volume 2, which is 100 pages. You can do a universe catch-up tier, which has Kolga as well, which is our 100-page book that came out last fall.
Yep.
So we got a lot of options for people.
Okay. I'm looking at your Indiegogo campaign. So who's the writer? Who's the artist? Or
I'm the artist, Dan's the writer.
right.
That's right.
I remember last time you were on, but I forgot who did what.
He's the talented one. I'm just the looks.
You're just the good looks.
Yeah, this is the best we have to work with.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Making bricks with no straw over here in the Godfoe universe.
Yeah. So what's the premise of the story?
All right. Well, it's part of a much larger story. It's when we call it a universe, it really genuinely is a universe. It's a very, very sprawling story set out over different eras, so thousands of years of story. But Apollyon 20XX is the beginning of our timeline. It's set in our near future, so it's in the year 20-something. It's kind of where we put it, and it's ultimately the story of how the world we know ends and the universe that becomes the Godfoe universe begins. It's very much a dystopian sci-fi type story. It's about an evil elite group who for centuries have been trying to learn better, more powerful ways to control the population.
So it's a true story.
Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
More than it should be, it is. And like many, many, many years ago, they had discovered this element that technically came from space, but it's called imperimetal, or that's what they call it now. And they've been experimenting with that material for centuries and using it to bond other humans with it. So the people who have been bonded with that metal in different ways are called augments, and it gives them different abilities. But ultimately what they're trying to do is find a person that they can combine with an AI machine that they're calling God, and be able through that augmented person and machine to completely control the minds of the population, because they've been putting trace amounts of this stuff in our food, in our water, in our medicine, all this for so long that it's in all of our bodies. And all they have to do, if they can figure out how to make this God machine work, is send out a signal, and everybody who has got that metal inside of them in some capacity, their will could be overwritten by the order.
Oh,
and so we've got this. We have a person named Zero. He is like the larger main character on the cover of Volume 1. Zero was kind of their best attempt at an augment that could work with that machine, and he broke out and escaped. And he has gathered together a team of young augments that he kind of breaks out of these facilities to. Ultimately, they're trying to stop this God machine from being finished, because if it does, then there's humanity has lost all freedom to these evil people. And it's more deep than that, but that's the kind of the elevator pitch for Apollyon. Dan, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we've often described it as Chris Claremont's X-Men meets Akira. It is very character focused. Very much in their thoughts and heads and in their interactions, but it's super apocalyptic. It's going to be about 4 volumes long, and we might split the 4th one into a 5th volume if it's too long for people. So it's a beginning, middle, and end story. You can read in one sitting if you're brave enough, but it just keeps ramping up. We've got it all mapped out, all planned out. We're releasing it every year at December right now. So in 2 years, you'll have the whole series be done. And it's very bold. We call it the boldest comic of 2023, and that's not just like a marketing thing. Like it is. It's not a superhero book. There's nothing wrong with superhero books, and it's not like a straight sci-fi book. It is something that has compelling characters and literal global stakes. And I don't know, just you can look at Josh's art and it speaks for itself. I don't think I'm the worst writer in the world, so we've got that going for us. I don't know. And we deliver on time. Our books are always done before. Here you go, John. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Our books are always finished before the campaign ends, so you get them very quickly.
Yeah, we deliver on time, and they're always, like the first volume is 180 something pages, almost 200 pages. Volume 2 is shorter; it's 100 pages.
Mhm.
It's a more fast paced, and it's a little bit more of a it's very claustrophobic. It has a little bit of a horror element to it. If you're a fan of like John Carpenter's The Thing, the villain in Volume 2 is a shape shifting type character that can take on the appearance of the characters that we know. So there's a sense of, is that really the person I think it is or not throughout this volume? And it's very claustrophobic. And then going into Volume 3 and 4, the world's going to start expanding and it's going to become incredibly apocalyptic. It's very much going to be about the end of this world and then the beginning of a new one.
Is this series going to end?
Yeah. It's very defined.
It'll end. But the era won't. And how we do that is like, this is the Apollyon 20XX era. So we're going to have different stories that are in the same timeline, in the same place and time. But this story within that era will end. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're introducing a character in Volume 2 called the Blitz Beast, who we're really excited about. He's probably the closest thing to a traditional superhero that we have in our book, but the Blitz Beast is really cool. He's going to come in Volume 2, but then later, hopefully sometime this year, we'll release the first issue of the Blitz Beast spinoff. And the Blitz Beast is going to be individual floppies. It'll be our first issue by issue story.
And that's kind of a monster of the week. He's fighting different augments that work for the Order while he's trying to get the secrets behind the Order. It's kind of a prequel to Apollyon 20XX, but it's its own series.
And he's going to be fun because he's sort of a generational hero in the sense similar to a Black Panther or the Phantom, who takes up the mantle of the father and the grandfather, and he's the new Blitz Beast. So in his comic, we'll have these back and forths between his day and then the older, his grandfather as the Blitz Beast, and kind of show those how they overlap, through time.
Yeah, we're super ambitious, and I'm not trying to get preachy because I usually don't shill that hard, but John was nice enough to let us on here, so I'm going to shill pretty hard.
Yeah, shill.
If you're listening, guys,
we'll talk nonsense later.
Yeah, right? If you're listening, get this book. It's we're gonna fund it one way or another. It's already, we got enough to do it. It just really helps.
You already made it, you know.
And we're not gonna stop. We're gonna finish
on my
the series.
Campaign.
Exactly.
I put the funding low because it was already done. It was already, you know what I mean. So,
it's just it helps us to get it out as quick as possible and go on and start building towards the next thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we if you'll buy if you haven't read the first volume of this, again, we've got multiple catch-up tiers. We even have a digital tier.
Yep.
Smart for people. I'm not going to say names, but one guy refused. If you missed the campaign, you missed, and I'm like, dude, nobody's going to go on Volume 7.
No, we want it to be one of. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, a lot of times you finally decide, hey, there's a series I've been waiting to read. I'm finally going to go for it. And then you go to a store and you can't find Volume 1 and 2. All you have is 3 and 4. We don't want to do that. We want everybody. I mean, especially since this story is building to something really grand. We want everybody to be able to get in and catch up and keep going with us. And, I think it's, out of all the things we do, I think that Apollyon is probably the most human and the most, maybe not controversial, maybe isn't the best word, but it tackles humanity as it is right now and some of the hideous sides of humanity and humanity's past pretty well.
I would still call it teen rated though. We don't show nudity and there's no harsh language.
It's pretty much. We've called it 13 and up pretty well.
We want younger preteens and teens to be able to get into it too.
Yeah. And then
there's a difference between all ages and kids.
Very much so. Very much so.
I would say my comic is PG. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah, we put this at about 13 and up, just because some of the themes are really dark. It's not nihilistic, but it's. I mean,
it's
it's
hopeful.
yeah,
It's
it's hopeful,
scary.
but it's also dark, and it does have scary moments. It's got violence in it, you know, and it's violence that happens to our younger characters. Like they go through
Yep.
some harsh stuff, but they also come out the other side of it strong.
And this is the best time. Our campaigns are the best time to catch up because we do special prices for the campaigns. Like if you purchase a catch up tier, you're going to get volume 1 at a discounted price, and you're going to get from our website or ever again.
Right.
Like we want people to be able to get in and do, and that's the whole thing. Like people do devalue their work, even sometimes whenever they put them in stores versus their indie campaign. It's like the store sells it for cheaper than the indie campaign does. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're already losing a cut for your store sale.
Yeah. So
But
like
anyway.
with our universe catch up tour, tier. Blech.
It's a catch-up tour.
Woo! No, with the universe catch-up tier, you're getting the ash can, like the issue 0 ash can,
which is a one-time print.
Yeah, we're never printing those again, and we're almost out of them. We have enough to fulfill like this campaign, but I'd be surprised if we have any for the next one. So you get the ash can, you get volume 1, which is almost 200 pages, volume 2, which is another 100 pages. And if you do the full universe tier, you also get Kolga, which is 100 pages and full color. And that one's set in the second era of our world. That one's
About
set
1,000 years later.
Yeah, a good 1,000 years after Apollyon. So it's standalone, but it's connected, and those connections are going to get more and more clear as as Apollyon gets closer to the end.
So you can jump in anywhere and get a solid story, but if you read all the eras, all the books, the whole universe, it does tie together in a meaningful way.
So you're looking at over 300 pages for what, $50? And that what we said?
For the universe catch up tier, yeah, $50.
I'm gonna play you trailer, okay?
Sweet.
Right. I'll make that big. I'll hit that, and I'll do that. Short, quick. I remembered it being longer last time I watched it, but I guess memory's a funny thing. My memory's just crap lately.
Well, there is also I can shoot you a link. I think I put it in our private chat, but there is a link for a second trailer as well.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, go
ahead.
I
can put that into. I'm gonna put that right back in our private chat again,
okay.
And
It started playing right away. I don't want to do that until I actually share the screen. Okay. I'm.
There we go.
Yeah, sweet.
There you go.
I want to ask you the name Apollyon. Is that a character, a situation, or just a cool title?
The name comes from the name of the angel in Revelation who opens up the pit.
Yep. That's why I'm big on names.
Yeah, and I always like that idea. And there's also Pilgrim's Progress. The demon in that is Apollyon, and we just associate it with the end. With the revelation, with the apocalypse, and I just kind of had that title sitting around, Apollyon 20XX, and then we felt that it just encapsulated this universe as the beginning of the end.
Well, and also, with the Pilgrim's Progress tie-in, the way that demon is portrayed as having this gigantic mouth in its chest that's always devouring, and it's the idea that that's how evil is. Like at its heart, evil is always devouring, and it's always bottomless. And that idea of, what if the people that have this endless hunger for power and endless hunger for hedonism and everything else, what if they had no limits?
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of the idea is that they're trying to replace God with themselves, and it
is very much inspired by the last 8 years. Everything.
I know Apollyon is. I forget. I'm gonna get the cultures mixed up, but Apollyon and Abaddon are the same angel.
Yeah.
And I forget if Abaddon is the Greek name and Apollyon is I forget.
I think it's vice versa. I think Apollyon is Greek and Abaddon is Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, okay. I knew John would get it. John reads.
Yeah, like I said, I'm big into names, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But today on the train, I thought up a character, like a superhero character, and I'm like, I wonder if people would actually get it. Like, this is a name I think I would have to explain. It's like a name everybody heard. Oh, I might as well tell you, if I told you I made up a character called the Mascot, what would his powers be?
The Mascot?
Yeah.
Throwing up in a big suit. Getting overheated in a Mickey head.
Like I think I would have to explain this one a little bit. But Mascot literally translates in French to a witch.
Oh wow.
That's
nice.
The etymology.
Hey, there you go.
Mascot. And it's the same root for like mask. If you read Anne Rice, they had the Talama Masca, the
that's right.
Animal mask.
Like masquerade and
it's all that. So the Mascot and I just have this like idea of like a familiar, and then a mascot, and then there's another, but there's like a progress of these witchy animals. But I was thinking the Mascot would be a sinister animal man, like that. So if he shows up in Heroic Tales someday, he just like this. He's like Animal Man, but a bad guy. Like he could borrow animal powers and things like that. So like you could almost see him like morphing into like a Baphomet type of character.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's something like masks are a big part of Kolga, which is like in our world, but set, much later. Masks are an enormous part. And
cool.
And there again, that's a very witchy focused story. That is very much, they're very different from the type of witches that we've seen in other.
Is the name Kolga, is that just a made up name, or is that something that is from history or means something?
I think that is from Norse mythology to mean a type of wave, like a water wave. And we blended that with her because her father was a sailor. And I love that. John, I would love to have like a 4-hour talk with you on like ancient names and Arthurian legend and stuff, man.
Yeah, dude, like none of that stuff happens in our stories without purpose, really. Like we do think a lot about names, and even concepts like witches, because witches are a big part of Kolga, but it's a witch in a very different. It's not a medieval type of sense of what we think of witches. It's very much a witch informed by the world that we've created, and it means something really different for them compared to what we typically think of as a witch. So it's not just visually, but also in the sense of what is magic, how does magic work within this universe. It's very different, but it's really interesting. And so much, even if you want to look at a continuing like thread from Apollyon into Kolga, I think one of the biggest themes that we look at is weaponized intent. Like what you can do with a person's intentions and how it's, if you can manipulate their intentions, then you can create the world that you want to create. And like how you do that is a big part of both evil and good in the world that we're writing about and creating.
Mm-hmm. And we like to take that classical approach to witches and evil, where evil has a cost. You don't get to wield the powers of evil without a cost, because like that's such a subversive thing that's been big in our culture for so long, especially with witches. I know we just had the Agatha show and Scarlet Witch and all that kind of stuff, and we kind of our culture throws those terms around and throws those tropes around without any of the strings attached, because they don't want to connect to the culture that made it. And I don't know, like that lore of our world even is missing from our world, and it's missing from our stories as well. And we want to be part of putting that back.
Yeah, I don't know if you got my comic Heroic Tales, but there's a backup story called The Suit, and it's pretty much a guy. He had good intentions, and then finds an evil shortcut.
Now I have purchased your book, John. We had this discussion.
Oh, you didn't read it yet?
I don't know if I have it in my email yet, because I bought the digital version.
Message me.
I'll check my email. I will. I'll check my email as well. But yes, I did purchase it.
Told me that they just didn't get, and I one guy I sent it like 3 times. We actually got around it by him emailing me first, and I replied to the email.
Let me do that then.
But I don't know if it's because the Dropbox is coming up as spam with some people. So email me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. Say, hey, John, I bought your comic. Remind me why, because I can't remember anything. And I'll reply, because that seemed to have fixed it for the 2 guys that just couldn't get the file.
Now,
but I won't spoil the comic then. But yes, evil has a cost. And you might not see it in that story, but, this recurring character, you should be able to figure out the cost of taking the shortcut to get what you want.
Well, that's what bothered me so much, and so many people, even if they couldn't articulate it, about the sequel Star Wars. Well, there was no calls to the dark side when Rey was tapping into it all the time, and then the new show, The Acolyte. It just shows
Star Wars. The last Star Wars that came out in 1983.
That's how it should have been.
People keep talking about these new Star Wars shows. Are they messing with me? Because
they got rid of the
they were on that moon, hanging out with Ewoks. They waved goodbye, and that was the last time I ever saw Star Wars.
You didn't miss anything.
Not much, no. But no, that idea that you can just exert power over people and torture people and all this stuff and get away with it is something.
Well, even George Lucas did it. If you remember, what's his name? Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yep.
He was messing with dice.
Oh yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I liked about the prequel trilogy is the idea of showing that, hey, the Jedi, for all their perfection that they try to portray, there's an undercurrent of they're not what they used to be, and they're not aware of this, of how they're shifting.
I could go on for hours about what I think George Lucas was going to, but again.
I think
he froze up. He pulled a Mitch McConnell.
Oh, poor guy. John, not Mitch.
There you go.
We forget that we hated the prequels so much that we bullied George Lucas into giving up and selling it to Disney. Like, there was such a backlash against the prequels, and then the sequels came out. We were like, but the prequels were great. Or the people that were 9 years old when the prequels came out are now adults, and they love it because they were 9 years old.
Yeah.
But I was 9 years old when the originals came out. I hated the prequels, and I only saw 2 of the 3 new movies. And I'm not watching Mandalorians. I'm not watching. I don't even know the names of the shows. People keep asking me. I'm like, nope. No, Star Wars is done. But I could go on for hours about what I thought George Lucas was heading towards, and like I was kind of fascinated by the story that never happened, and it kept me hopeful. But like, obviously, the Force was unbalanced because they kept talking about the guy who's going to bring balance to the Force. But the universe was too good, and the Jedi dragging their feet because they liked the good. You know, like they're not going to train. If Luke is going to bring balance to the Force, that could only mean Luke was going to bring more evil. So that's why Yoda was like, you're too old. Yoda was just making excuses because Yoda, you know, the Jedi are all hypocrites. They don't want balance or anything like that. They wanted the good, and I don't blame them. That's what they should want. And you know, we don't want this guy. We don't want you know. That's why Yoda was always like fearful of Luke. But sooner or later, he realized I had to trade him. And I do think like if George Lucas had control, Luke would have been the bad guy. You know, there would maybe Leia would have 2 kids and one would be, you know what I mean, and balance everything. Like, you know, Luke would spend half his life good, half his life evil, and whatever. And I still say it would have been better if Obi-Wan was Luke's father. 100 times better, you know. But I'm going. Yes, I'm saying that episode 7 and 9 are our fault. Remember, Red Letter Media made like 40-minute videos trashing each of the Star Wars movies, you know, and we loved them. I thought they were great, you know. Your kids liked it because they were kids, you know. But I don't know. I can go. But anyway, we're not talking about Star Wars. I just want to say that we are to blame for what happened to Star Wars. You know, people.
But we're all, you know, if you want to take that and expand on it, though, we're also to blame for all the garbage that we're being forced upon us now by the entertainment industry. All these, you know, all this mess that we're getting from these tired old franchises and from, you know, things like Marvel and DC, the nonsense that we're having to put up with now. You know, it's a lot of that is due to audience.
Right. Stop watching it. Stop hate watching it. Stop watching videos about other people talking about it. Just ignore it.
Yeah, don't feed it. Don't feed the troll.
Don't feed the troll. Don't feed the troll. You know, people ask me my opinion about modern Marvel. I'm like, I haven't bought a new Marvel comic in years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
good, Marcus. You never take blame for something you didn't do.
Yeah.
No reparations.
That's a take it, Marcus. We gotta blame somebody. No, I haven't. I went to the comic store the other day. I was telling Josh this, and the only thing in it that interested me was Akira #1, the big book.
What is it, a reprint or is it new Akira stories?
No, there's no new Akira stuff.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And Taskmaster like 2017 or something. Hey, Katie, #1, and it was trash. Like the cover was great, and then I read it and it sucked. So
I'm just curious. What was the Taskmaster just like a little bitch complaining?
It started on a golf course, and it had that stupid millennial writing where everything's a joke. And I get it. Taskmaster is supposed to be like this kind of like joking kind of character a little bit because he's like this rough dude and he's kind of
but he's not.
He's kind of goofy.
Did you read Avengers 187? His first appearance, he was
I
terrifying.
did. I know,
you know
he's terrible. But what I'm saying is he always had like this kind of like roughneck kind of attitude, and he would say things. You know what I mean?
He mocked the people that he was fighting because he was that much of a badass.
Well, this is what sucks though, is like they made. It turns out the Black Widow is hunting him, and he's afraid of her. It's like he took down the entire Avengers
the
by
Black
himself.
Widow was after me.
Yeah, like, why would he be afraid of the Black Widow? So anyway, I went to eBay and
Black
bought all of Akira instead.
Opponent that he would love because she doesn't have any powers, so he would be able to copy everything and counter her. So I could use all the Black Widow skills, and then
poor John
froze up again. He did say it was cold there.
And it's yeah. Are we back?
Yep.
So like it just shows me that these people don't know the history of the character.
Yep.
And like Galactus, he just shows up like because everybody who walks into any Marvel comic, they want to play with their biggest films. You know, like there's always one kid in the neighborhood that wanted to play with your cool toys and had no respect for your toys.
Yeah, Josh.
Banging them against the wall or whatever, or throwing them and stuff like that. Like that was fun. It's not mine. I don't care if I break it. You know? But
no, it was bad. It was like he runs to Nick Fury for help.
Yeah, Taskmaster.
Yeah, Taskmaster, and like it was him and Bullseye getting paid by billionaires to play golf against each other. That was the premise, the start. Black Widow's hunting him. I was like, why would he ever be afraid of Black Widow? I saw this guy take down the event. Like his first appearance, he team busts that entire team.
Right.
Like I said, I get it. He's always been supposed to be like kind of a roughneck that makes like sarcastic jokes and this kind of stuff, but he's never been a coward. And it was just really, he's never been like a B-list.
Well, he taunts.
Yeah.
What he's doing, he's taunting. He's trying to get you mad. He's probing you for weakness.
Yeah. Anything I can do, or anything you can do, I can do better. That was like his catchphrase for a while.
Plus, he wasn't really he wasn't if you remember, he trained henchmen for like 20 years in the comics. Somewhere along the way, he became like a mercenary, but that was never his thing. Like, if you wanted to be like number 21 and 24 to a villain, you went to the Taskmaster Academy and he trained.
Yeah,
people don't even know the premise of the villains. But
well,
there's a reason I stopped.
Oh yeah, and like I said, like I went to eBay and bought all of Akira for like $90 or something like that, like all 6 books. And it's like, why would I spend my money on a comic book store when I can do this?
Well, Christopher, there was a USA Praetor 7 always has a good comment. He says there was a U.S. Agent series that came out around the same time as that Taskmaster that was interesting. Weird, though.
Nice.
But Christopher Priest is a good writer.
Yeah, Priest is a very good writer.
His original name, his dead name was Jim Owlesley. So if you ever see any old Jim Owlesley, it's the same guy. I think he literally became a priest and changed his name to Christopher Priest.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a black guy, and he was offered Black Lightning. He was offered Black Panther, and he was offered Luke Cage, and he was just like, why can't I write the Fantastic Four? Why can't I write Spider-Man? He was one of the first people to like, I'm not going to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
So he actually took Vampirella, who I consider like a Z-list character. Everybody likes it. Everybody's got a picture of Vampirella, but nobody reads the
double D-list, you say?
Yeah, double D. Real clever. And I actually bought. I could care less about Vampirella. To me, she's like a pinup character. You know what I mean? It's like like a Betty Page as a comic book character. I don't want to read a Betty Page comic, but I'll look at Betty Page artwork. But Vampirella, I actually bought a couple of issues because he made this stupid vampire from planet Dracula, and he actually made like a couple of interesting stories about it. He's a great writer. Yeah. So yeah, I would be shocked if Christopher Priest didn't do a good USA Agent story.
And US Agent, if you write him correctly, that's a very interesting character.
He was great in the show, even though they tried to kill him.
He's the best thing about that show.
Yeah, they tried to crucify him in that show, and he was the best part of it.
That's why I'm excited for
you.
Universe, intricate, complex stories. Nothing is simple and easy. You have to think about that. Good. Yep. And if Logic is saying that, he's got good comments. People talking to each other. I like that.
Tell other people to go buy it, Logic.
I've always liked Priest, although he is Christopher Priest is very wordy. So keep that in mind. He's very wordy, but he's very thoughtful. And he is different. You're gonna get something different. Yep. You're gonna get quality from him.
Well, Claremont was wordy, but people don't admit it.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's true. Claremont was very wordy. You look at his X-Men stories, and they were walls of text, but they were well-written text.
Yeah.
Claremont is. I used to joke that he was paid by the word.
Well, yeah, like guys like Lovecraft were back in the day, like Lovecraft was. Like that's why a lot of those old novels, like I think who wrote Moby Dick?
Melville
was paid by the word.
Do you think Priest would make a good? I think Christopher Priest would make a good anything, but he doesn't want to be typecast or pigeonholed or whatever the word as the black comic book writer.
I don't blame him.
He did a great run on Black Panther, but that was before the identity politics days. Like a lot of stuff that I think he created the Dora Milaje. A lot of the stuff that's now like inseparable from the Black Panther Christopher Priest created, but he moved on again. He Vampirella, you know what I mean? Like, who cares?
It's a big departure. Well, my
he
thing,
the best Black Panther run, if you ask me.
My thing with all of this, and like with what we're trying to do with Godfoe universe, is it's so hard for me to stay engaged with most of the Marvel stuff and most of the DC stuff because it's been retconned and retconned and retconned, and it's had so many iterations, and there's there's like how many different versions of Batman are on the shelf right now,
and how many of them are good?
Yeah, but like with our approach to this, we're telling very big, very interconnected stories. That have emotional punch, that have very real stakes. You're not going to ever, if someone dies in our book, they're dead. I was just
going to ask you, if somebody dies in your book, they come back to the next issue because they grab another copy from the multiverse? Yeah.
If there is no multiverse, if they die, they're dead.
I know, and we flip that we flip that on its head with Kolga, who dies at the beginning and comes back basically with a healing factor, and she hates it because she's lived her whole life and she's ready to die.
Yeah, she wanted to die and can't. And like she's the only person who can't.
What if Wolverine, every time he got like died and came back, he came back as like a little kid? And now he's like 9 years old.
Jean Grey would be in a lot of trouble.
Right, the wisdom, and he's like, what am I going to do? Like he can't go buy a cigarette or anything like that.
It's like Goku.
But no, yeah, we really like to write this stuff that feels like the story matters and is not just a excuse for an action sequence or, a gimmick to put 5 different characters from different things together. And like everything that happens, like in these volumes, everything moves the story forward or informs the character in a way that matters. And it's a story that has an end in mind. And we already know how these things connect to things happening 1,000 years later. Mm-hmm. And, really volume 2 is coming out right now. Volume 3, we had a talk earlier, like last week. Volume 3 is when we're really going to start kind of breaking open the world a little bit and showing what's happening on a larger scale. And people who have read Kolga are going to start looking at it and realizing, oh, these things are starting to cross-pollinate here and see something that, like, people have already said about Kolga, like, Dan, who was that who edited their list of, like, you sent me a video earlier this week.
EV Comics.
Yeah.
A smaller channel that does comic reviews. He had us at the top of his list along with Vonster for his reading of the year.
And like the thing that made me happier than anything else he said, I mean, he complimented the story, complimented the art, but the thing that made me happy, he's like, man, I want to read it again because I feel like there's things I missed.
And that's this book.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to. I don't want to write something or draw something that people read it once and say, oh, that was cool, put it on a shelf and never touch it again. Like I have graphic novels that I have read 100 times. Mm-hmm. I read Akira every year. I read Weapon X multiple times a year. I read if it's something that I love, I'm going to read it again and again and again. And I want people, when they see Godfoe on the Godfoe universe on a book, I want them to know that they're buying something that they're going to want to revisit every time a new volume comes out and see it all fit together. Like we're trying to do something that's genuinely, for one, we are really excited and passionate about. We spent 10 years planning this thing and figuring out the lore and figuring out these characters in this story before I ever drew a page. Mm-hmm. And now that it's coming out, we're able to get it out on consistently because it's already planned and it's already written. And it's just a matter of creating the actual physical product now. So it's going to be coming out every year. And then ultimately we can come back to these eras and expand and show a new side of it, take one of these characters and show their background. It's really exciting.
Oh yeah. And you're right, Luniverse. I mean, everything does feel like a product. Like art doesn't have to, but it should be okay if it hurts you. I think it was Bukowski said that like art is you look at the page and like bleed, like that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, man. Just if it's not, we're making this, whether it gets funded or not, whether it makes money or not, we're making it. We love it. We want it to exist. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I guarantee you will not look at the book and have no reaction. Mm-hmm. You may hate it. It may anger you. It may frustrate you. But, hopefully you're going to look at it and be intrigued by it, be challenged by it, and love it. But I don't think anybody's going to look at it and not be moved by it at all. We put too much of our blood in it.
Oh yeah.
Well, one thing I do like again, Marcus is going to laugh at me, but I like the use of your names. You know, everything kind of works. Like you did the research. You used Apollyon correctly. Like I've seen it like in a video game, and I'm like, that's not Apollyon. What do you? You know, I think all of us who like you grew up reading superhero comics. I mean, I'm looking at your X-Men stuff and Spider-Man on the wall. Like I think all of us that read superhero comics more than just like the casual tourist. I think like it changed us in some way. Like this Jack Kirby was incorporating mythology with the Eternals, and before that, the New Gods. He was incorporating the biblical, and I think it just like we absorbed it without realizing it, or maybe realizing it. So it's like anytime like somebody like my wife is gone back to church and she's taken a Bible study class and she'll talk about biblical stories, and I'm like, that would make a good superhero origin. Or like that would make, you know what I mean? Like, so I
mean, the Western canon is one of those things that like people don't even know about anymore. But like, these are archetypes,
right?
And you know, they're powerful images. You're not going to find more powerful imagery than what you find in Scripture. I mean, there's things that were written 2,000 years ago that we're still incredibly intrigued by and trying to figure out the different, like. And, you know, you're not, if you can tap into even a little bit of that without making it cheap, without it just being a gimmick, if you can genuinely tap into the surreal or the archetypes that Scripture gives us, these characters, if you can create a character as flawed and inspiring as King David, you know, with all of his, you know, bloody hands, and you know the lust, and he has so much control, and then at the same time so little control. He can face a giant, but he can't even face his own lust. And those are the types of things that make a character maybe not likable but compelling.
My favorite biblical character is still Solomon.
Nice,
and I think he's the most misunderstood biblical character. You know, and again, like a tactical genius, but then like Merlin, another famous wizard.
Yep.
Women did him in, you know, he can't control.
Jesus.
You know, mine's Jesus.
Good choice, Universe.
Sharon.
She's like, only one died for me.
But there are some good, and there's characters in the Bible that like I just get so mad at. I'm like, you stupid idiot, you know. It's good, but I'm also super influenced by Greek mythology. I talk about it as a kid. I used to take index cards and try to make like genealogies. Like how can Hercules be on the Argonaut when the Argonaut was over here, but Hercules was already killed? You know, I was like, Homer got it wrong. You know,
it's Homer erotic.
The black van came up and took you outside, dragged you away. He figured it out.
Well, but you know, you bring that up. It's interesting that there is a huge resurgence, and it started a few years back, but like it's really on track now of the mythology, and the Greek mythology in particular. They just put out a new movie that's about, you know, Odysseus coming back home at the end of the Odyssey, and it's a good movie, but it strips it of all of its mythological elements.
There's a movie. What's the name of this movie? I try to watch all.
It's called The Return. It's got Ralph Fiennes as Odysseus, and it is a good movie. His cinematography's good. He's a great actor. It's a good movie, but it strips away all of the actual mythological elements.
No centaurs or sirens and stuff like that.
Yeah, none of that.
That's the fun
gods.
Yeah, that's
none
the
of
fun
it.
part.
Yeah, and you know, Christopher Nolan's about to do his version of the Odyssey.
Hold on, did you guys see like it was like a Hollywood account? It was like a guy that did he's like a Hollywood account that like promotes movies and stuff. When that came out, he didn't know what the Odyssey was.
Right. Yes.
Gosh.
He had to Google it. It's like, look,
He's
man.
like, all I see is this game about a little green guy.
Yeah,
Abe's
he
Odyssey.
actually said, "What are the odds that the Odyssey is named after the main character Odysseus?"
Yep.
It's like, dude, this is a freaking 3,000-year-old story. You know, it's one of the tentpoles of Western civilization.
But see, that's the thing is like we have we got more books than ever, but a less literate society than we've ever had.
I just saw somebody, man, some college professor. I don't even want to remember his name, but she said that we should update all books written before 1970.
I saw that.
I was like, what are you, nuts? So you're a college professor who admits that your students can't understand a book written before 1970. You're a bad teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
hang your head in shame and make me French fries. Nothing wrong with people make me French
for
fries.
$17 an hour.
The president did it.
Is that like there's a like a feminist viewpoint of the Odyssey, you know?
That sounds horrible.
Oh,
yeah, why would I care about this? Is it written POV from the kitchen?
I don't know, but it basically just slaughters Odysseus. Now Odysseus is a complicated character too. I don't know if you're supposed to like him or not. I went through a big period of loving Odysseus, and then I went through a big period of like, he kind of is a bad person, but like, I don't live in that time period, you know. Actually, nobody does, because you know it's a fantasy period. But like, he's a complicated character. Like, but at the same time, like, also the Odysseus of the Iliad is almost a different character than the Odysseus of the Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
Like the Odysseus of the Iliad was almost like a Loki character, you know. But I kind of marry them as like, he's like, dude, this has been going on for 10 years. I fulfilled my oath. I love my wife Penelope. I just want to get home. We're gonna build a horse. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go in, and then I can, like, I'm gonna justify all these horrible things because I just want to go home. That's how I rationalize it. You know,
like the best version of that story that I've seen, and this may not appeal to everybody, and Dan will probably make fun of me for this, but like the best version of it that I've seen lately is it's a musical project, but it started as a college project. It's called Epic, and he adapted like pretty much everything from the end of the Trojan War through coming back to Ithaca. And it's like a series of different EPs, and they're full blown like musical productions, and they're fantastic.
You send me a link to this. This is something I know nothing about. Yeah.
Do you listen to Spotify, or what do you listen to music on?
I listen to Pandora.
All right, just put in Epic the musical, and it'll bring up, and you can probably find a playlist that it's like 6 or 7 EPs, but like they have like a whole EP that's just the underworld, and then there's an EP that's the Cyclops part of the story. There's another EP that's just the Ithaca saga. Like it's really good. Like it captures all of the emotions and the darkness and the power of that story better than any version I've ever seen. And it doesn't shy away from the actual gods and magic and monsters and stuff.
Well, I don't know how you
really impressive.
There was a comic by I think his name was Eric Schanauer. It was called The Age of Bronze. And it's
I'm not familiar with that. I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's Image Comics, and unfortunately, it didn't sell so well it's only like a web comic now. But he promises once he gets so many issues, he'll finish it in print. But it's called Age of Bronze, and it's a telling of the Trojan War as a purely historical. So no.
Oh, cool! Yeah, I see it. I'm looking at it.
Gods, but there's no monsters. There's no gods in it. You know what I mean? So just imagine like a Netflix series, because it's so realistic, you know, and it's really, really, really good. And then what I really like about it is the last pages, it talks about like the source material, where he got the artifacts, you know, trying to translate Linear B, and you know, this guy must be Eric Chan. He must be a scholar or just a lifelong lover of this. It's so good.
Yeah, it looks good. I see. It's got that like a more old fashioned. The artwork reminds me of like the old Bible comics and stuff that they used to make.
He tries to draw them what Mediterranean Greeks would look like.
Yeah, it looks
like
really
Helen
cool.
of Troy. We always picture this beautiful blue-eyed blonde, but the Helen of Troy looks more like a Diana Troy from. You know what I mean, she's got this Greek, but it's so good. It's so good. I really recommend it, but it's dry. You know what I mean? There's no lightning bolts. They worship Zeus, but the gods are removed. You know, so you know, just like I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but if you read Lord of the Rings, you see that there is the hands of the gods. You know, in certain, but. I was about to get real pretentious about Lord of the
Rings. How can you not?
Nolan does everything well. Tenet is I didn't see Tenet yet. Is it worth seeing? Best nonlinear storytelling. Oppenheimer was good. Wish he gave Heisenberg more credit since he made a nuclear reactor before Rico. I didn't see the last Nolan movie I saw was the one about the black hole. I liked it a lot actually. It was fun. It was a harsh world with scarce resources back then. They regarded effectiveness as more important than what Chris. Right. I forget who else, but I was in college, and you know I was a history major. I got a degree in Greco-Roman history.
Nice.
And then another degree in education. And so I'm the most educated guy on the construction site. And one of the things that the teacher was like one of our professors was trying to drill into us is that up until literally the Christian era of Europe, you know, that the universal cruelty was the norm. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I couldn't get that word out, but cruelty was normal. You know, like, and it's not because people were evil. It was because, you know, disease, you know, scarcity of resources. And you know, you saw a group of people wandered into your border. It's like, tell the daughters to go hide, get the men and the knives. You know what I mean? That's how we greeted them and stuff like that. We had to. And this was like an atheist professor, but he's like, history is history. It wasn't until the Christian Judeo-Christian model throughout Europe did we have. And think about it, outside of the European world, we don't have things like individual liberty. We don't have concepts of a you know, like a man has the right to face his accuser in trial. You know, that's why this whole social justice is such a anti-Western thought that, you know, I try to drill this into my niece. Like, justice is individual. It only matters what you did. You can't be judged because that guy, you know, but white people have shut the hell up. If you killed somebody or whatever, I'm getting into another rant. How's the car? Whose car?
Or bat sauce.
What happened to
Vaughn Coleman destroyed his car?
Oh, I see this on Twitter all the time. What's the story with that?
I really don't. I think Bat sauce the same day he got Vaughn's book, his car got hit, so he blames Vaughn for it.
Oh, okay.
And Vaughn's too charismatic to not blame, so let's blame him.
All the more reason to buy comics from the Godfoe universe. We don't destroy your cars.
You don't. Yeah, it destroys you in other ways, but not.
We destroy your spirit.
Your spirit.
No, absolutely. Like,
we'll kill your boredom.
We're very, very close to our goal. I mean, the book's coming out regardless, but you know, the more pre-sales obviously we can get in this last week, the better off we are. If you were holding off and waiting until the end, like this is the time to really hop on and get caught up. If you hadn't had any of the books so far, we have very affordable catch-up tiers on all of the different platforms. It's on Kickstarter, it's on Indiegogo, it's on.
Here's a Poly in one, volume 1 right here. This is how the second one will look.
Yeah, it's going to look very. Yeah, we're using the same printer and everything.
Yep, this is 185 pages. Volume 2 is 100 pages. You can also get Biophile Kolga set in the same universe. This one is 100 pages, full color, manga sized.
I apologize because I backed so many books. I thought I backed yours.
I don't think you have, John.
I was just checking out. I'm like, I never backed this.
But like again, we have.
I was like,
We have a universe.
He's like, it would help if you backed it. I was like, oh my God.
But yeah, we have a universe catch-up tier that has all of the stuff that we've put out for $50. So it's well over 300 pages of
almost 400
content.
pages worth of content for you guys, or I would say art. Josh can call it content because he's an artist. You won't find a better deal in indie comics or probably comics at all now.
What I hate is when somebody's making a comic and they say product.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a product. It's definitely not.
The way to corporatize what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm making a superhero comic book. It's action adventure, or I'm making product. Yep. You know, and I also I say it too, but like I'm making videos tonight, and like, oh, you making content? It's like content is just like, it's like if you ever see Repo Man in the movie, the original one with Harry Dean Stanton and me, they had cans of food and it just said food on it.
Yep.
And they had cans of drink and it just said that's what I think of when you say content. It's just like a video, and it's just like, hello fellows, I'm John. Welcome to my content. It's like, you know, it's a video. We're talking about comic books. I'm not content.
Hey, we also talked about Greek mythology and some incredible works of literature.
I want to address Logic Finest. He's like my harshest critic. I'm not asking people if it's good enough. I literally stopped watching movies. Like if I got time to watch TV, I read my stacks and stacks of comics. So it's like it wasn't even a conscious choice. I just have these looming stacks of comics and I want to read them before they fall down and get bent. And it's funny because my wife has to be like, let's watch a movie tonight. And I'm like, oh yeah, movies, you know.
Those exist.
Moving pictures.
Yeah.
The Flickr show, you say.
Yeah, last week, my wife and I rewatched Role Models.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, to me, that was like the last great comedy. You know, I can't, was there a funny movie made after Role Models? Like comedy really got gutted by political correctness and
yes, it has. There's stuff that I'll laugh at every once in a while, but I'm typically
mostly me.
I'm probably going, if I'm gonna watch something to laugh, I'm either gonna watch like Monty Python or I'm gonna pull out Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs again.
Dumb and Dumber.
I played a History of the World.
Oh yeah,
for my nieces and nephews who've never seen it. At my sister's house for Easter, and we're all like laying on the ground like slobs, you know. Through the world's come on. I'm like, oh, you got to watch this. They were horrified.
I can imagine.
They were like the whole, and they were like nervous laughing. And I'm like, this is funny. This is funny. You know. You need. I got the Dunce Whisperer. I got the Dunce. I think it's right. I think it's right here. Proof that I got the. Nope. That's not the Dunce Whisperer. Where did I put it?
He pulls up a middle finger.
I was waiting for it.
I got it right here.
Pulls out like the Joker pulling the long barrel gun out his pants.
There you go. I got the Dunce Whisperer.
Nice.
That's what I mean. Like if you're on my channel, I pretty much back your stuff.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
And that's why I thought I backed your. That's why I thought I backed your book.
I think a lot of people have thought they backed it. It just happened.
I get people that say that to me too. Oh man, I forgot to back your book. I was waiting for like payday, and then yeah.
Well, here's your reminder. We have 1 week left to buy the Godfoe Universe Volume 2, Apollyon 20XX.
Yep.
John had said to me, it's all a good fun. It's all a good fun, Logic. Yeah. Like
how funny would it be if Logic is like a sentient AI here to troll you?
Like this came. This is another thing I backed because I had a guy on my channel this week. Watch, I open it up live and it's a dildo or something.
John's gonna accidentally do the Rollman salute.
Ninja Punk's F off.
All right.
By Jeff. I had him on last week.
Nice. Dead Kennedy's reference.
I backed too much. So anything that I wasted your time talking about that you didn't get a chance to talk about? I have RJ on my channel like every other Wednesday, and then he never says anything because I don't shut up.
Josh, you want to give the pitch while I show off the books?
Yeah, just one last time for those that are kind of showing up late. Godfoe Universe spans thousands of years. It's a very large story, but it's beginning. The beginning of its timeline is Apollyon 20XX. Sort of a dark dystopian sci-fi story. We kind of compare it to Akira by way of Claremont's X-Men. And
say that it looks like a nice blend of manga and then Western, like
Eastern. It's kind of the art style, especially if it be in black and white, is somewhere in between. It's very gritty. But Apollyon is set in the year 20 something. It's our near future. That's why we call it 20XX. And it's about a evil order who have found a way to control the population, and all they need is an augmented person that they've experimented on that can bond with this God machine AI. And anyone who stands up and says that thing is not God is going to be labeled a Godfoe in our universe. So Apollyon is telling the story of how our world ends, and then Kolga, Biophile Kolga, is set about 1,000 years later. You can read it standalone, but it ties into the same world. But by that time, we see the world that's been rebuilt in the name of this god that is kind of created through Apollyon. We have it set up now with catch-up tiers. You can get Volume 1, which is of Apollyon, which is 185 pages, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can
That's
get
what
the
I was
Ash.
just holding up for everybody.
Yep.
This is Volume 1.
You can get our Issue 0 Ash Can, which is limited, very limited copies of that. We've only got a little bit left of those.
You'll get everything in the catch-up tiers at a discounted price.
That black gentleman on the cover, was that Apollyon Creed?
No, that is our character Zero. He is. This
being a jerk.
Be a jerk. That's what. As long as you're a jerk that buys our book. Be a jerk that buys our book. But no, the catch-up tier will get you both volumes of Apollyon and the Ash Can, or you can get the whole universe catch-up tier, which also includes Biophile Kolga, 100 pages, full color, manga size, set in the same world, just about 1,000 years later, all interconnected. And we're releasing these books consistently. So Volume 1 came out last January. Volume 2 comes out this January.
Same thing with Kolga.
Yeah, Kolga came out last fall. It was out like in October, I think, and it's going to be out again in this coming October. We've got other things that are going to be coming out in between. So if you guys jump in now and get caught up on all of the universe, you get over like 400 pages worth of stuff for $50.
Yep. And again, if you get it before campaign's end, you're going to get a special discount on the catch-up stuff on Volume 1 and Kolga. Once it's over, when it goes to our website, it'll be full price.
Yeah, so this is the best opportunity to catch up on what we've got and what we've created. There's so much more coming. We've got decades worth of material that we're going to keep rolling out.
We have 2 short films on our website and on YouTube that you guys can check out that are in the Apollyon 20XX universe. We're making another 1 or maybe 2 even this year of those. We've got a full novel that's going to be at the end of our universe that's done, and we just got to decide when we want to release it. We also have, if you are on the campaign page and you scroll down, you'll get if you purchase the catch-up tiers, you'll get some cool digital stuff that are like short stories and photography and poetry that's all in world. It kind of expands the world a little bit. So that's about another 100 pages or so of great digital cool stuff that you're going to get.
With the catch-up tiers. And then we're also working on a video game. We're about 75% done
for Biophile Kolga.
That's a prequel game that hopefully will be out either end of this year or early next year. That is a prequel to Biophile Kolga. So we're working on a lot of stuff. We just need to build the platform, get it out in front of people, and if you back us, we will get that book to you within probably. Yeah, we got everything.
Our quickest turnaround time has been 2 weeks.
Yep.
Are you fulfilling everything yourself?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to use a service, but I didn't do good enough to.
We haven't either.
Yeah.
But no, I want to stress, people. We go to cons. People see this, they buy it. You see it in person, they buy it. I know there's a kind of a degree of separation through a screen, and you can only say so much, only show so much. but we've got great reviews for people we don't know. You can search it on YouTube. We even shared some of those for both of these titles, Apollyon and Kolga. You're not going to be disappointed, guys. Trust me. And you're not going to find anything like this anywhere.
It's
in
very
indie
much
comics
in
or
its own
comics.
lane. It's not, like you said, it's not superheroes. It's not subversive in the way that so many things are. It's just, it's a very focused, very high stakes, emotional story that and it does require multiple readings, I think, to fully, like, I think every time you read it, you'll come back and see something that you didn't see the first time, or pick up on something that you didn't pick up on. It's the type of book that we think will really reward people who read it, because it's not about making money for us. It's about, we're just passionate about this art and we want it in front of people.
Oh, Bats also is asking for the link.
Yeah, I'll put the link up again. So this
Thanks.
is the Indiegogo link. And if you check Fund My Comic, you'll see you'll have one more backer.
Nice. Thank you, John.
We appreciate it, man.
The all in. Got to get everything. If you get it back in for a penny, in for a pound is the way I look.
Well, and when you buy a catch-up tier, a physical tier, you also get all the digital copies as well.
Oh, cool.
That's included, and that's all. That's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a big folder. So we're fully funded on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Fund My Comic are where we're still struggling a little bit.
Well, I did Fund My Comic just.
Thank you.
Yeah,
hey, that works, man. We appreciate it.
Love it.
Yeah,
and more power to Luke Stone.
My campaign out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm loyal to him.
Well, you did such a great job on Fund My Comic. Man, it blew my mind. I was like, I was like, geez, dude.
It's funny because I did Fund My Comic, mostly because I was like, this is where I could get my mistakes out because nobody's going to see it here.
And then everybody saw it.
But
hey, whatever works.
Kickstarter at Indiegogo, I got like 6 sales, so I'm done with Indiegogo. I found it to be difficult to work with.
It is.
Out of the 3 of them, so I'm big. But I hope Luke doesn't get mad. But I will do a Kickstarter and to Fund My Comic for issue 2.
Yeah,
because when you're at our levels, $1,000 you can't just not.
Oh yeah,
$1,000 helps.
That's a whole print run right there.
Yeah,
or close to it.
Yeah. So but man, I hate Kickstarter. I'm not filling out surveys, and I still got 3 people that didn't fill out a survey. Indiegogo.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like about Indiegogo is you just pay for it and forget about it, and then if it's CG 7 years later you get the book, but you just pay for it and I forget about it. I never read the
the rip-off verse.
But Kickstarter, you got to fill out a survey. I just hate that. So I don't know. But Kickstarter is pretty easy to navigate.
Oh yeah, what surprised me so much? I did it because I saw you, and it's all Vaughn do Fund My Comic, and both of you did great on it. And I was like, okay, we've only done. We decided to do Indiegogo at first because we knew people that in real life were going to buy the book. It's like, okay, I don't want them to have to set up an account on Kickstarter. So we did Indiegogo, did great the first 2 books. This one's like, all right, let's do all 3. And I set up on all 3 of them. And Fund My Comic was the easiest one to set up on.
Mm-hmm.
Fund My Comic was the easiest for like people to check out on. And it's like, I know the GUI setup maybe isn't as professional looking at the first glance, but what Luke has done, I don't know if he did it single-handedly. Like, it's insane. And it's great. And he pays you out quicker.
I don't know what the ins and outs, but one of the things I don't want to use Indiegogo, I forgot about this, is it automatically adds a tip.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, so you actually have to put manually $0 for a tip on Indiegogo.
You're right. You know what you do? You do have to do that.
And I don't want my friends to get, man, your comic book was $30. What are you talking about? It's $10.
Mm-hmm.
And then you freaking tip this site that already takes 5% of my money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the fact they just added on and you have to go manually get. I don't want to deal with Indiegogo because of that. That and it's difficult as the back end to retrieve the information. I just don't like it. So I'm done with that.
Yep.
Kickstarter, I hate that you got 60 days before you pay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As a backer, I'm backing now because I got the money now. Take my money now. I don't know what's going to go on in 60 days. 60 days, I might back a Vaughn Coleman book and crash my car. You know what I mean?
You're right,
super
Bad Sauce.
gay for that.
So, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen. 60 days from now, I don't, you know, for all we know, we could be living in a 20XX, you know? So take my money now while I got
We technically are. So.
Yeah. Maybe after the election, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe not. Like,
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
I don't know. Supposedly they declassified all the
Oh yeah, the
assassination files.
assassination stuff.
Now
yeah,
we're all gonna know the truth, you know.
It's nothing, probably.
Yeah.
Or it's either nothing
the CIA
or it's what we always thought it
Kennedy,
was.
Here's how. And they put all those documents, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He was killed by UFOs.
All I want is if I could get political for if Trump could get rid of the IRS, I will personally carve that MFer's face on Mount Rushmore.
I'm sure he's already planning to do that somehow.
You know, my liberal friends, the United States is an empire. Yeah? I'm like, what do you mean
Good.
we're an empire?
Empires are strong.
I said the Roman Empire took money from Gaul, from Germanica, from Dalmatia, and all these places, brought it to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I work out in 4 degrees weather to be taxed so we could take all of my money and send it everywhere else. We're the opposite of an empire. We're the anti-empire. You know, our money is going in that direction.
We didn't change
all
that.
Empires, the money's coming in this direction. So how the F are we an empire? That and some idiot on Twitter said that you Republicans should shut up. You lost the Civil War. Now own it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The Republicans won the Civil War, you idiot.
Again, uneducated.
Right.
Now, to be fair, I am from South Carolina, so I can't say much. We were first in the war and last out.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Outlaw Josie Wales.
Well, John, I appreciate it, man. I don't want to keep you.
We do appreciate having us on here.
I eat my dinner, then I go to bed. This winter.
I'm about to do the same. No, that's great.
This cold is like draining my soul. I feel like in the old Ghost Rider comics, when Ghost Rider shot you with the Hellfire, the people would just go so cold. And they were I feel like Ghost Rider attacked me, and I didn't. But
maybe your hands would remember their strength if you wielded your sword.
These used to be strong hands.
He's got Theoden over here, man.
Immediately cuts his nose off. Do you guys get points if you know his face? From?
Is that Excalibur?
Yeah, it's
nice.
It's from the 80s movie.
I just bought that on Blu-ray for the first time.
I have it too.
I wanted it because it's a fever dream.
It's such a weird movie, but
it's like, I was about to say something ridiculous. It's not historically accurate like any Excalibur, but it's so
not like the real Merlin.
You know, it's legendarily mythologically accurate.
Yeah, it's a really cool movie, man.
Boorman, the Boorman film. Yeah,
it's a really cool movie. They don't make stuff like that anymore. A24 wishes it could make an Excalibur movie.
You watch that movie and you're just like, oh my god, that's Jean-Luc Picard. Oh my god, that's Gabriel Byrne. Oh my, everybody.
Helen Mirren and
the main characters are big actors.
Yeah, it's a great movie, man. It's weird but fantastic, just like me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna eat my bowl of chili that my wife secretly deposited over here. She doesn't want to be on camera, and then I'm gonna.
I don't blame her.
All right. So
thanks, John. Thanks everyone in the comments.
Come back whenever you want. At the very least, you got one sale on my comic from me,
and we appreciate you for it, John.
The hobos would be living in my house,
and I'll send you an email about yours. I'd love to get it.
Oh yes, yes. I owe it to you. I want to make sure you get it, and I don't know what's going on, but. Oh, I do. It's a really large file. Like a couple of people like it doesn't need to be this big. Like, well, I don't know how to shrink it.
No, and then I got my wife's been asking me for years.
Yeah, it's too big. It doesn't go anywhere. But I got software and I shrunk it down, and then it looked like crap. So I'm like, are you really complaining that it's too high resolution? So I think that the fact that it's a huge file, I think like all of your whatever blockers think it's a virus. So email me first, and then I'll reply to the email. That seems to be how it gets around. So, and
Thank
that
you,
goes for
guys.
anybody in the chat. If you got the digital file and you just didn't get it,
Yep.
I want you to get what you paid for. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll
Thanks,
see you.
guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.